realms. It is about spending time with the fire, spending time with the incense, with these elements. That being woman is that we are flexible. That is part of our gift, the flexibility.
The balance of divine feminine and masculine, which is inside us, brings the integration that we need, that we have forgotten. I know you love ceremony, you have seen a lot of it. I love to know more about the ceremonies, all kind of aspects that you do that heal yourself and enables you to reach out more woman out there.
It is about time. It is about spending time with the other realms. It is about spending time with the fire, spending time with the incense, with these elements that, again, in our tradition. And by the way, I was born and raised in Venezuela, and my father's Indian. So I come into all these teachings, these like tantric and Vedic teachings at a later age. Like I didn't even grow up with this. I didn't even grow up doing puja at home. It's something that I've now incorporated into my life and into my family. So I guess I'm also saying that because there's no better time than now if somebody feels curious, right? And so, with the ceremony, so my ceremonies maybe don't tend to be classically Vedic ceremony or classically tantric ceremonies. They are encased in ceremonial space. Usually, either I have a fire that I make with some of the components that, we know from our tradition, like the camphor and the sandalwood and the certain kind of wood, and adding different elements to the fire, and ghee, of course. And so I do use those like traditional pieces, but I open up ceremonial space, and then I make offerings, whether it's offerings with rice or almond. Sometimes, I get more creative if it feels like, oh, they're wanting something. So I make the offering of that. So it's, again, I'm listening to my own, with all due respect for those who have followed a very specific ancient tradition, because I really do respect that. And I also realizing that I'm two of two lineages. So I bring my two lineages when I'm connecting to the earth and to the other realms. And then the offerings, it's not about coming with a shopping list to the divine, it's more of like coming as a way of just presenting gifts like we would if we were to go to an elder's home. We don't come in asking for food. Maybe we come in bringing flowers, or maybe we come in bringing a gift, and that's what establishes relationship. It's not any different than relationship with other women, right? It's like, how do we show up to the relationship with other women? Are we coming with like a shopping list of like what I want for my best friend? Or am I coming in with like, hey, let me share this with you. These are the things that I love the most. And, I don't know if you'll like this, but I love it and I want to share it with you. And then there's this sort of like interchange of like, oh, you like that? Well, I like this. And have it be that the relationship gets to evolve and form and not have the expectations that you were talking about.
Yes, that is beautiful grounding ceremony that you just spoke about. It feels like how do I say it? It's a mixture of what you have in your life. I think that resonates very well because you came from two different lineage and you're putting them together. And when you spoke about it, I can feel that love and respect for everything that you are doing from your own understanding based on your own environment. In our culture also, we say Mother Earth. In many culture, grounding yourself is going back to the Mother Earth. That is coming back to our equation, how we are born through a womb of a woman, and we are connecting back to another woman in the nature. Going back in a circle, the way you lean in through your grounding. So when you say that the process of connecting back, how we show up to our friends, let's just say our girlfriends here, and we end up bringing our expectation, the shopping list, instead of sharing our abundance together. Can you share your journey in this context?
In the context of how do I connect to women from this deeper place, I've always been, I just transparently, I'll just say that I've always been the kind of person that this is who I am. If I'm having coffee with you, lunch with you, anything, you get a sense of who I am, for better or worse, right? Like my kids will be like, you need to like tame it down a little bit. But I'm like, I don't want to. I mean, I'm willing to grow. Listen, I'm willing to grow. And I know that the intense parts of me are not always that fun to somebody who's like, that's not what they're like, they're not interested in intensity, right? And so I know that I show up as like, this is me. Right, and then people are like, "Oh my god." Either they're like, "Oh my god, no," or they're like, "Ooh, tell me more," right? And so I transparently, I don't suffer from that thing of like, "Oh, I have to hide parts of myself." I mean, I'm sure I do, of course, like the really deep, intimate things, the things that I hold really close to my heart, whether it's shame or insecurities, of course, I hold those close to my heart. And only the people who we built a relationship over time and depth that they get those parts of me. Not everyone gets those parts of me, right? And that's discernment. That's what I've also learned is like I can't just show up and like spill all my everything to someone that I just met because we also get this like vulnerability hungovers, right? Like after we're like, "Oh my god, I shouldn't have said all those things." Like maybe that was like too much too soon. So you learn. I think it's okay for us to screw up. It's okay for us to like be like, "Oh, I said too much," or to be like, "Ooh, I didn't share enough of me." It's okay for us to flounder through the process. But my way, and I think everybody should tighter relationships in the way that feels safe for you, right? For me, safety is I want you to see me from the beginning. And if that's too much for you, I'd rather know now than 2 years down the road, right? Where you're just like, oh my God, I can't deal with this. So that's me. And that's how I approached it. And maybe because I approached it that way, my face plants with the deep pain that I've felt with those relationships when they ended or where I did something not right or they did something not right feels even more like it's still sitting in my heart like this like right. So that's the way that I approached it, but I see the value of people taking their time because that's what feels safe for them. It's like, no, I'm not going to give it to you all here. I'm going to give it to you in layers and I'm going to trust you with something small and then see like can we do this? So I do feel like it's very individual and it really depends on what you can handle. Again, after such deep painful situations, I guess I could question my my approach, but something in me still feels like I want true and I want deep and I want honest and I'm going to keep moving in this way and keep being vulnerable, but without having expectations because some relationships are lifelong and some are just for a few years. And I think like you were saying, we have to kind of be okay with what it has. And if we're so focused on the expectation of the thing, I think we lose out on what's actually available and emergent in our interaction, right? Because if I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to lose you as a friend," and so I'm not going to say this like really edgy thing or this thing that I know it's vulnerable or something. So if I'm always have this play, this like recording in my head, maybe I don't get to experience the realness of you, what can happen between us.
That's so true. That's the holding back and the thought process layered after layered. It works for lots of people. And there are people also that have the courage to bring their intensity from the beginning, and it kind of worked for me differently. I can take the layer, and I also can take the intensity. I'm more like, when you show your intensity, I know that this is who you are from the beginning of the day. And when you go by layer and layer, I'll be like, okay, what's next? For me to form a friendship, a relationship, I feel like there's incompleteness that I have to wait. And when is this big reveal is going to come? And when the big reveals come, there are times that I've always felt like, oh, I shouldn't have done it in this way that day, because this person is actually not really who I thought. Anybody who reveals bits and pieces is like, I feel like, okay, at that day, this is who I can be with you. And tomorrow, when you reveal something else, this is who I will be with you. And I think that's the dance that most of us don't really understand. But we do revealing day by day. And we need to come to back to what you say. It goes back to the time that we are spending, how what we do with that time. As we choose the way we choose to show up in our friendship, how do we choose it? What is our intention from the beginning of the time? Are we going to be ABC, or are we going to just say, this is me and my name is Asha and I'm going to be this?
Yeah.
It has been two different impacts for you, right? Do you have any situation you can share with us?
Well, when you're speaking, I think the things that I'm sort of popped in my heart were two things. The very first thing that popped in my heart is for those of us who live in the diaspora, where we are not in the cultures that know how we are or the mix of how we are always doing this like code switching into different cultures. And so that does affect friendships. So I've been really mindful of that in friendships. And look, I'm not saying that just because people come from our culture, this is going to be a good relationship. I think all those things that we talked about still stand. But there is something about somebody from our culture that does allow us to like relax a little bit more and like know that the way we joke is the way we joke and no one's going to take offense to it, right? And so I think that there's something for us to like consider around that. It's not the same, like for me, it's not the same to have, my Latina friends than it is to have my American friends. Like I know that I code switch. I know that. And somebody could say like, well, aren't you just you and you show up as you all the time, everywhere, consistently? Yes, there's a core of that. But also, as someone who's been in this like relationship with the moon, I also understand that the moon has different phases. And part of that's what you were saying, right? Like one day I'll show up like this, another day I show up like that. What do you think that's about? Men, sure, consistency. You get what you get every day, 9 to 5. That is who they are. Like winter, spring, summer, fall. We, however, have a different relationship with life. We have this like example of the moon transiting, and she has different forms. And in fact, she's like different expressions of the goddess those forms, right? So of course we're going to be differently. The core of us doesn't change, but part of the gift that we have as women or people who identify as being woman is that we are flexible. That is part of our gift, the flexibility.
Well, let's talk about this. I am so interested to know the mood phase and how we as women who are living in patriarchy society have forgotten that we are actually moon. Not only the external moon that's in the sky, but our own internal moon. Like you say, we can't show up like men who are like the sun. They are always the same level, 9 to 5, 7 to 7, sunrise and sunset. And the way we show up has multiple layers. How woman can bring this understanding when she face another woman?
Look, maybe it all comes down to know thyself. The more that we know ourselves, the more that we tune in to our own natural rhythms and also the way that we connect to the outside rhythms. I actually don't think that there's a separation between us, like me, you, and the moon, and even the consistency of the sun. Like it is all relations, right? These are our relatives. You're my relative. The moon is my relative. The sun is my relative. And so it's just a matter of like, how am I going to be in this family? Right? Like, how am I gonna show up in this family and listen to the go outside, literally go outside at night and look at the moon. Tracking the moon is like a magical something magical happens when we go outside for if you try it for like a month and you go outside every night or look out your window, whatever it is, and you just like try to spot the moon, try to see where the moon is at, something about that changes you because that awareness changes something in you. So I remember when I was still bleeding, when I was cycling, I had this like kind of rigorous yoga practice and it was very specific. It was like 6 days a week and I wouldn't practice on new moon and I wouldn't practice on full moon. And just by acknowledging and noticing that at a physical level, my cycle started kind of synchronizing with the moon. Not perfectly all the time. Like to think about it perfectly is like nonsense, right? But like there were these like moments where I was like, "Ooh, I'm cycling with the moon. Isn't that interesting?" Right? Or like when we're spend time with other women and we all start like everyone's like in their moon, right? Like all of a sudden you're like, "I wasn't expecting it." What or you're in the presence of it happened to me. It's happened to me a few times and now it seems to happen to when people are around me. The mind can't understand this and the mind can't track it. There's something magical that happens and something deeply sacred that happens when we're with each other, when the topic is the divine feminine, when we go outside and track the moon. And for people who are like, oh, I have my, like, I can't like be looking out the window or whatever, take the kids outside. And secondly, if you don't take the kids outside, then like second, I guess go and look at an app and see like, is the moon waning? Is it waxing? Is it going towards the light and then towards the darkness like that? Then you go to the next layer. You could look to see the tithi, right? The relationship between the sun and the moon and what the moon is showcasing that night has a very specific essence of the goddess. Either she's like, okay, I'm resting, like I'm Avasya, or I'm like, okay, I'm growing in light. Okay, I'm full moon, like I'm in my full splendor. Okay, I'm kind of backing off and like reducing my light. This is time for me to slow down a little bit. And then for those of us who aren't cycling anymore, we get to connect to the great cosmic mother. We get to be in witnessing to you cycling and like what happens when the group of women are around each other. And there's just like something that happens with like, how is our blood talking to each other? Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, I have experienced that. If I work with a group of women, within 2, 3 months, our cycle sick. Do you know why?
I don't know why, but what I feel about it is that it's a reminder of our interconnectedness. It's a reminder of how we used to be. Back to the connection. A group of women came here. I was running this program, Temple Immersion. It was a 5-month program, and it kind of culminated in people coming here to my home. And we did ceremony outside, and then we did a ritual inside. I said to the women, because they all brought offerings, they brought offerings for their priestess lineage and they brought offerings for their ancestral lineage and all these offerings. And invariably, right, people start looking at each other's offerings. Like, not that they did that, but like, I know I'm a human being. It happens to me, right? I'm like, oh, I should have brought that. Oh, I meant to bring that and I didn't, right? But I always say, I promise you that when one person brings something, they're not just bringing it for themselves, they're bringing it for everybody. Even if they think this means something to me, this is something for me, me, me only. No, it is for everybody because that is the level of connection. When I bring a dish, potluck, right? When I bring a dish, I'm not just bringing it for me. I'm only eating my thing. No, I'm bringing it to share. It's the same thing with ceremony. And so I also think that it's you can see how you start translating this into other areas of life. When one woman does something, oh man, even though she's the one that's benefiting, I think she's doing it for all of us too, especially the more connected and the closer we are to her, the more we're affected, the ripple effect.
That is most healing journey ever. When you come together and you bring your abundance, the abundance of coming together as women, as the nurturer side of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. The divine feminine is the nurturer always. So when women gathers, they gather in a way to nurture each other. Something that the masculine side of us don't really understand. I feel like we went into this masculine side of us so deeply that you forgot how to be soft and we don't have the subtle senses to sense this thing. We end up questioning it instead of embracing it and see where it takes us. We don't have that as a whole.
Even if we feel like we don't have it, I think and I feel and what I have seen is that we do. Is that for many of us, it doesn't take that much to remember. It's not the remembering, we remember. It's bringing that courage, bringing that Durga energy to say, I'm worthy of being this, even if it feels like it's against the current of what's expected of me or how science has told me I need to behave and to start questioning what is the foundation of everything that I think is telling me how I need to be? So I think it's good to question, right? Even science. I mean, I'm a scientist. I can tell you it's very subjective. People don't want to say that, but science can be very subjective. And also there's so much that we don't know. And I'll go back to that example of the Vedic astrology. It's like I love learning and I love learning specific things. I'm like a forever student and I'm humbled to even think like I don't know enough. So I'm, doing that. But there is something that goes beyond knowledge that is that intuitive wisdom that when I see a chart, I know the remedy. I may not know XYZ, pa, 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 people who generation after generation have been in this, da, 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 I may not know, like, and so much respect for that, but I also can hear the planets speak to me and hear the charts speak to me and this woman or this person in front of me. And when I hear her dreams, I know I'm like, okay, all right, we got you. Like let's look at your chart. Let's look at what you have available for. We all have this. This is not unique to me. It's the more that we remember, the more that we have courage, the more that we put ourselves out and goes back to the sisterhood thing too. The more that we like say, all right. I got to heal my things. I got to look at the past. I got to look at my patterns, like honestly. And then also I got to be courageous and make connections and invest in those connections time again, right? Like those relationships need the investment of time and let ourselves like explore what's here and the connection of what's here. And then yeah, when we have those human moments where it's like, dang, that didn't work out and I'm really like pained by that, let ourselves go through that, and it's those things are okay also. They're part of our human experience and we can't really run away from it. It's just very real. But the gem of being held by a sisterhood, and you asked me at the beginning like how has been your journey, so that's why I like leaned in when you asked me about this, because I think even I don't know, 5-10 years ago I may have been like, oh, I'm in the pursuit. It's a little rocky, but today I feel like, okay, I'm in this season where I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about what I think is valuable in friendships, what I contribute to friendships. And I have those people who I can go to with the things that I feel so ashamed of, those tough moments, and someone sitting there not judging me and just holding a light in a dark moment for me, and that I know I can do that with somebody else because that's how relationships are. Like when you're down, if I have enough energy, I'm going to show up for you. And if it's like down in the dumps, then I don't know, we're going to have like a little like crying session, and if you take a drink or something, then it's like, all right, let's just like let the hair loose and like have a good dance or something. We got to shake it off a little bit and then bring a new perspective to life. And um yeah, I feel for all of us in this beautiful thing that is sisterhood, because I know that it takes a lot of work in modern times, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth.
I think it's worth it. The fact that you just spoke about how we think and we are mood and we have so many faces, just like Davy has. That is a big realization that I always felt, but I've never had the words to articulate. And you articulated so beautifully, and I'm so grateful for that. We have this innate strategy as a woman. The intuition comes in, and we have so many tools. Like you just say, we can cry, we can laugh, and men can't do that.
Think they can and they should, because ultimately we all hold feminine and masculine energy, right? So I
Yes.
think that's also programming. All the time we do that. That is how we've been entrained. And so part of it is unraveling from the programming and saying like, wait, let me be curious about this. What would happen if I had both that feminine energy and that masculine energy? Because it does a disservice to us, and I'm only saying this because I've been there. It does a disservice. I have seen in my life that I've not served myself when I just am unraveling in my own emotions.
The balance of divine feminine and masculine, which is inside us, brings the integration that we need, that we have forgotten. And the concept that we are talking about here is Arthanadeshwara, and that's what we are speaking when it comes to balancing the divine masculine and divine feminine. And for me, this is like a tool that we can use to break down the patriarchy system that we have just within us, just by bringing and accepting that we are feminine and we are masculine, and keep checking against that, which side are we leaning towards all the time, and trying to bring in the balance. It's what would heal us and to lean towards the womb that has created us. Just like you say, when a woman brings in a offering for the prayer, for the Havan that you have created, she's not only bringing it for herself, it's always for everyone. Because those people come together, they don't only think about you and yourself all alone. So the subtle senses always bring people to think about us as together, and we are always better together. So that brings us to the end of this conversation. It's been such a wonderful time to have you on my call. And thank you so much.
Grateful for your time. I'm grateful for your questions and for bringing this topic. Really appreciate you.